All right. Welcome back, everybody. It is Tuesday night, and we are doing chord therapy. I hope everyone enjoyed the first one, I hope. And today, I hope to fill in some of the blanks that we may have kind of glossed over, and then we'll pick up steam from there as well. I'm just going to assume that I'm live. I don't see anybody putting anything in the comments. So, um, why don't we talk a little bit about what this would be good for? And also, for me, I play bass and I play keyboards as well as playing guitar. And so all this stuff kind of really, hey, Joe, all this stuff really will help if you're recording your own music. All right, here we go. Now I see people talking. And it'll really help you in the long run with figuring out bass lines for things and understanding things in a musical way. And also, it's nice to be able to speak the language. So I'm going to jump right in, if that's okay with everybody, just to talk about what we talked about last week, which was the key of C. Everybody understands how we get here, how we're at the key of C. We have no sharps and no flats. We start on C. We basically can look at it like this. We whole, half, whole, half. But we basically start on C and D, E, F, G, A, B. Okay. And as I said before, we can number these out to 13 and we go all the way out to A. And somebody had asked how I numbered these, and I'm just numbering them in order. So C gets 1, D gets 2, E gets 3, F gets 4, all the way till you get to the second C, which would be number 8. But when we make up chords, we don't sit there and say, "Oh, this is a 3-5-8." Even if the C is on the top, we still would call it a 1. So we always call that position the 1. The 9 is a 9 when the 3 isn't there. The 9 is the 9 when the 3 is there. If the 3 isn't in the chord, then you would refer to the D as a 2. And then the same thing goes for the E. We're always going to just refer to it as the major third. It's the third. The F will be the 4 or the 11. Again, if there's a 3 in the chord, we automatically call that 4 and 11. If there's no 3, as you see in a million chords, we always call that a sus4. We're suspending the 3 to a 4. The 5 is always going to be the 5, so we don't call it the 12. And then the 13 is the 13 if the chord has a 7 in it. If it has no 7, we refer to it as a 6. So I hope that clears up how we're numbering them. It's just numbered 1 through 13, and 1, 3, and 5 is a constant. So we don't have 8, 10, or 12. So I hope that's clear. Hey, Hetriani, what's going on? Johnny D, Joe Squire, Dave Ennis, John Taylor. All right, excellent. Okay, so that is how we have all 13 notes. They're going to make up everything. That's going to be your makeup. So in other words, if I want a C major 7 chord, I'm going to use a 1, 3, 5, and 7. Once again, the word major refers to the 7's relationship to the chord and not the chord. The chord is already major, it's assumed major unless you say minor. So a C major 7 is a C triad 1, 3, 5 with a major 7, which would be the 7. A C major 9, we add the 9. You don't say C major 7, add 9. You just say C major 9. Anytime you have that, like a C major 13, it's going to have the 13, 11, the 9, and the 7 in it. In fact, the word major, again, is telling you the relationship of only what the 7 is going to be. The 9 will always be the 9. The 11, 13 will always be that. So a C major 7 add 13 would look like this. 1, 3, 5. And again, we're just brushing up on kind of what we talked about last week. And then we have our triads. And this we really didn't talk much about. And so we have a C, a D minor, E minor, an F, a G, an A minor, and a B diminished. This is going to be the chords of every scale, of every key, as long as we're just talking about major keys, right? So the 1 chord is always going to be major. The 4 chord always going to be major. The 5 chord is always going to be major. The 2, 3, and 6 are minor, and the 7 is diminished. Now let's look into it a little bit deeper. If we go deeper, it's a major 7 in the 1 chord, it's a major 7 in the 4 chord, and it's a dominant 7 in the 5. But all 3 are major chords, 1, 4, and 5. 1 and 4 are major 7s, 5 is a dominant chord. 2 and 3 and 6 are minor 7s, and the half diminished B minor 7 flat 5 is the 7. All right. Now I can number these so you can see them numbered. All right. So if I take a look at a song and the song goes F to G, like a song like Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, F to G, they're a whole step apart. That tells me they're 2 major chords a whole step apart. That is the 4 and 5 chord of the scale or of the key. So that song, because it goes F to G, is in the key of C. It's very easy to deduce that by putting the F and G together. This is going to come up when I talk a little bit about heavy metal in the next 15, 20 minutes, half hour. Why that's going to be really important to the metal guys. But F to G, 4 to 5 is always going to be, if it's major and you see 2 major chords next to each other, it's the 4 and the 5. 9 times out of 10. Now, every rule I'm telling you is going to have challenges to them, but we're talking about the majority of the time. If you know a song that has 2 major chords, like in Stairway to Heaven, you have A minor, G to F in that solo section. Well, that can tell you right there that would be in the key of C. You're playing basically a 6, 5, 4. Now, you could look at it from the A minor. It's the same thing. It's just A minor is really just the 6th mode of the major scale. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into these chords. So now that we know that every 1 and 4 chord is a major 7, the 5 chord is a dominant 7, the 2, 3, and 6 are minor 7s, and the 7th chord is a half diminished. What if we took every chord out, like as far out as we can, 7 notes? Then we can see what all the differences are. And so we can see that the C major, it's a C major 13. The D minor is a D minor 13. Nothing changes. The 3 chord is an E minor 11 with a flat 9 and a flat 13. Well, that's not a very pretty sound and not a very common sound. So you're not going to see that a lot in a song. The 4 chord is an F major 13 with a sharp 11. So it's different from the 1. The 4 and the 1 are different, as the 4 has a sharp 11. The 5 chord is a G13. It's a dominant chord. And then the 6 chord is an A minor 11 flat 13. It's the same chord as the D minor, except it has a flat 6 or a flat 13. And you hear that all the time when people talk modes. They're like, oh, the Dorian mode has a raised 6. Yeah, as you can see here, the D minor 13 has a raised 6 compared to the standard natural minor. Again, this is just to show you the differences. Sorry, let me see what this comment is. Okay, good. So, those are the chords. So usually if you see a 1 to 4, if you see a C major 7 to an F major 7, you know you're playing a 1 to 4 progression. Not much You know, it's pretty simple to figure out. If you see an F major 7 to a G7, you know, you're playing a 4-5 chord of a progression. And I showed you this before last week. This is looking at the 4, and you can see that the F has a sharp 4. And people may, and I thought that maybe I went a little too quick over that, so I'm going to show you something. I don't know if you have a guitar handy, but I'm just going to show you my guitar real quickly here, which I have very close. If we look at this E string, the low E, okay, the A is a fourth above the A string. So that is a fourth. So if I bar here and press this, that's an F, and the B flat is the perfect fourth. But B flat doesn't exist in the key of C. So we would play the B. And that would be a raised 4, a sharp 4, or a sharp 11. So when you play that scale from the key of C from F, as opposed to, that would be your standard F major with a B flat, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. However, in fourth position in the key of C, we have a raised 4. All right. So if you're playing a chord and it has a raised 4 in it, you pretty much can figure out that's the 4 chord in the major scale. And that's all I'm trying to do, is give you the tools to be able to figure that kind of thing out and see that. And then here is what I was just talking about. What is the 4? We have E to A is the 4, F to B flat is a 4, but F to B is a sharp 4. And so now we're talking perfect fourths versus diatonic fourths. Diatonic fourths would be playing the sharp 4 because you're playing diatonic, which means to the scale or to the key. Perfect 4 would be, forget about playing to the key. You're going to play the B flat, even though we're playing in the key of C. That happens a lot in jazz, where guys will harmonize perfect harmonies, perfect fourths, and not pay attention to what the key is, because they're playing to the other note, playing the parallel fourths or the perfect fourths. Talks about 3 different chords, but in fact, 1 basically. Right, exactly, Mr. In fact, going back to that, you know, when you see something like, so I just told you that the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord are all major chords, right? So if someone says to you, there's a C chord in the song, automatically you know it can only be in 3 keys, because the C chord will only exist in 3 keys. And now you're thinking to yourself, the hell's this asshole talking about? But it's true. If you have a C chord, look at the top, we have the key of C, or we could look at the key of G on the bottom left here, the key of G, and we have it positioned where the C is the 1 chord. And we also have the key of F, where C is the 5 chord. Over here, C would be the 4 chord on the left. On the bottom right, C is the 5 chord. But I've made it so it all starts on C. So if you see a C chord, you know you've got it narrowed down to 3 keys. You're either in the key of C, you're in the key of G, or you're in the key of F. That's all it can be. All right. And depending, if somebody comes out of the gate and says, okay, the song has got a G7, well, you don't even have to think about anything at that point, because the dominant chord is always the 5. So a G7 lives in the key of C. That's the 5 chord. All right. And the important thing about a 5 chord is the 5 chord always wants to resolve. It wants to resolve to the 1. It doesn't have to resolve to the 1. It wants to resolve to the 1. And most jazz is really based on getting that resolve. You know, you hear a lot of jazz 2-5-1s. The song Giant Steps is, you know, other than moving through an augmented triad of the key of B, key of E flat, and the key of G, you have, you know, 1-5-1-5-1, 2-5-1-5-1-5-1, 2-5-1, 2-5-1, 2-5-1, 2-5-1, 2-5-1-5-1-5-1. That's the whole song. It's all 2-5-1s and 5-1s. It's that resolve. So the 5 chord becomes really important. In fact, in a lot of popular American music before, let's say before the 60s and 70s, when a lot of those rules got broken, but it's still used a lot, that the 5 chord is the chord that brings the tension that gets you back to 1. I mean, you could take any of the songs that I teach, anytime we have that, you know, you're going to have that. You know, it's basically anytime you have that 5, it wants to resolve to that 1. So you have a lot of these. Now I altered the 5 there, but that's not important at the moment. But so anyways, so we see that the 5 chord becomes the important chord of resolution. And now we're going to talk a little bit about looking at the C major scale from minor. And we have what's called the natural minor. Now this is the exact C major scale starting on the A. And we have and we look at it, we can see that the 3 now is a flat third in this relationship, and the 6 and 7 are also flat in this relationship. And that would also make the 13 with the 6. So the chords are the same. We have an A minor 7, which was the 6 chord, looking at it the other way. We have the B minor 7 flat 5, which was the 7 chord. Now it's the 2. The C major 7, the D minor 7, which was the 2, and now it's the 4. We have an E minor 7 that's acting as the 5, F major 7, and G7. And when this scale is played, it doesn't have a resolution. It doesn't have that tension resolution from the 5 dominant chord that we get in the major keys. It's missing. And it's missing because here is the 5 is an E minor 7, and it doesn't have the same type of tension release. As you can hear, if I'm playing an A minor, this isn't very exciting. So a lot of classical musicians back in the day would utilize the harmonic minor. Now, what the harmonic minor does, and everyone knows it as a raised 7, it raises the 7 to a G sharp. The scale becomes, and the reason for this is it makes the 5 chord now a dominant chord. So now the changes are, and that feels nicer. That has a nicer feel. And a lot of times in music, they'll just borrow it for that section to go to the 5. They won't necessarily use all these other altered chords. But we could take a look at what these other chords are. The 1 chord becomes an A minor major 7. The 2 chord becomes, well, stays to be a half diminished, a B minor 7 flat 5. The 3 chord now is a C augmented major 7. The 4 chord is a D minor 7. Now, going back to that B flat, that B minor 7 flat 5, which is a B, D, F, A. We could also substitute the A with a G sharp and make it a full diminished, a B diminished 7. And same with the D minor 7. You could have it as a D minor 7. But you could also make it a D diminished 7. We have an E7. We have an F major 7. And then we have a G sharp diminished 7. All right. And so, you know, that type of, which would be. So this is where you get that neoclassical sound from shredder players. And really, they call it neoclassical just because it's imitating that classical format of playing that. So that was major, but hold on, I saw a comment, so I want to. Okay, good. All right, so that's why we have that harmonic minor scale, why it exists, and we could also see that the 5 chord and the 6 chord are a half step apart, and you see that a lot in metal. That. And you also see the diminished runs. And a lot of times when the metal guys will play diminished runs, they won't lean on altered scales and they won't lean on double diminished scales. They take it as simple as playing the harmonic minor scale because that's where it derives from. And that's where a lot of the original classical music and violinists would be playing from. The concepts of double diminished and altered came way later, and they're jazz concepts, and you don't really hear a lot of them in classical music. In fact, the melodic minor scale, as Hetriani pointed out last week, ascending is different than descending. However, in jazz, pop, rock, whatever you want to call it, that melodic minor, people just play it straight. I think there's like a Beatles song that might go up and down, but it's more like an exercise in tedium than anything. Hey, Falcro, what's happening? So that being said, that is basically what we have for the harmonic minor. And we can see we have chord changes in here. The A minor major 7 is introduced. And that's a really cool chord. It also is a chord you don't see that often, but it tells you that the word major 7 has nothing to do with the chord, but to do with the 7, because the A minor is the chord. Major 7 is the relationship telling you it's a G sharp on top. So you can really play it like, and it's a nice chord. You can play it here. You see it in a lot of Bread songs, like. That type of thing. Anyways, the other altered scale we have from the minor is the melodic minor. Now, the melodic minor raises the 6 and raises the 7. So in the A minor, now we're adding an F sharp and the G sharp. So now the 4 chord also becomes major. But this does a few other things that's really cool. Yeah, exactly. So you have a 4 chord now that is a dominant chord, a 5 chord that's a dominant chord, and the 6 chord is an altered dominant chord. And anytime you see somebody refer to a chord as being it's an altered chord or an altered dominant chord, it all means the same thing. It's telling you that it's a dominant 7 chord with either a raised 5, a flat 5, a sharp 9, or a flat 9. And so that's what the 7 chord looks like. And it's an important chord for playing jazz, that last chord, because you have that, you know, that's the G sharp 7 sharp 5. And you can play the melodic minor over that nice chord. And just so you can see what's going on there and why it sounds so nice, is because if we look at a G sharp 7 and we look at the scale starting from the 7th degree, putting the G sharp in the 1 position, we have a 1. We have a flat 9. We have a sharp 9. We have a major 3rd. We have the flat 5. We have the sharp 5. And then we have a flat 7. And that's a tool that's used with a lot of jazz players that want to put tension on the 5s. There's a lot of cool things you can get out of that scale. I'm not trying to teach you jazz here. I just want you to have an understanding, because when you hear people communicate the language, even before I was ever into playing the altered, I knew what it was. And so anytime you hear someone refer to the altered scale is the 7th degree of the melodic minor scale. So it's starting on the 7th degree. So here we're playing G sharp altered, which is the A melodic minor scale, which, you know, but played from this, from the 7th position. Just to give you a little heads up of what goes on there and what's that about. Richard, don't run away from your feelings. So let me ask you this. Are there any questions about what I've been talking about so far? Nothing? No questions? Bueller. Okay, I'm going to go back to this. Let me see now. Yeah. So again, if we look here, I'm pulling back, back to the C, because it doesn't make a difference what chord or what number we start on. If we start and there's no sharps and no flats, we're in the key of C. It doesn't matter. And a lot of times you'll see, and let me tell you what makes music tough. What makes music tough is when you're learning music, you think that everything you see is right, and it's not. People will write sheet music out completely wrong. And they'll write out, like, you'll see stuff written out to D minor, like what's that? Okay, that's played in the key of C. The problem is the person who's transcribing it is usually somebody that's trained classically. And so they see D minor and they see it as the first chord. And so they're going to write it with a flat in the I don't know what I'm blanking on the word. Look at the beginning of the page. They're gonna write out there's one flat. They're gonna have a B flat there. However, it's really in the key of C. And you'll see, you could find 5 different sheet musics, and you'll see 3 of them have it right, 2 have it wrong. Key signature. Thank you so much. I don't know what my brain is, but anyway, so that's kind of what you would see, but you have to kind of be smarter than the person writing the sheet music, or the score, or whatever it is. And a lot of times, if you see when I'm teaching, you'll see like stuff like that. You'll see the 5 chord. The reason why the 11 chord, and I've talked about the 11 chord, and we could just call it here like an F over a G, but it really is like the 5 chord. And the reason why it works so well is because in music, it's always nice to have the littlest amount of motion and have more common tones throughout chords. So if I'm playing like C and I want to play an F next, right? I could play an F. And there's one common tone, which is C. And that's okay. But I can go. And that's a little nicer. I have an F major 7. So now there's 2 common tones. I have a C and an E. But I can also play. So this time I played a C major 9. I kept the G in there as well. I had the C, G, and E. Basically the C triad static in the song. And I made the bass go up to an F. And so that kind of has like a nicer tone. And so when that happens a lot, when you go from a 4 to a 5 chord in pop music, you would have this F. If I play here, if I do this. So 1, 4, 5. I'm ready to pull out the marshmallows. That sounds like a campfire to me. So if we take the C to an F, and now we're going to play the G11, which would be an F over G. Has a nice sound because the next chord contains the F, so it goes smoothly, but it adds more tension, which asks for more resolve, which makes it nice. You see that a lot. What's that song? What's that song? Ooh, you make me love you. Too many broken hearts have fallen into the river. Too many lonely nights have drifted out to sea. Pay the price and then you tell the things we do for love. Do I use any lesson books? Not really. Sometimes I'll buy people chord books, and that just shows so many different versions of chords, but not really. I have the blanks and I write them out myself. Hey, Dwight Bailey. So again, talking about keeping common tones, in a regular setting, when you first stop playing guitar, everyone learns this G. Now, I never play this G, so honestly, it feels so foreign to me. This, to me, is what I call campfire G, and I hate it. All right, now I'm going to take it to a C. Now, if I were to take it and be a little bit more musical with it, I could play what I like to play, which is a G5. And now, to substitute the C chord, I can just move my bass note down and keep these common tones playing. The G, the D, which would be the 9, and the G, and I can bounce on the D to E. So that makes it a lot prettier. It makes it more interesting. You're adding common tones. And, like a lot of people, when they watch a lot of my lessons where I teach Steely Dan songs, and they're like, how did you come out with that chord? And it's like, really, they're almost doing the same thing. They're just taking easier ways to play chords or prettier ways to play chords. One thing that like a lot of jazz rock guys like to do is play stacked fours, and if we looked at a C major 7 chord, on the piano, you can use a substitution called a 6, a major 6. It's a Barry Harris trick. Makes everything really pretty when you're subbing these. On the guitar, I like to use what's called the 6-9 chord. And what you can do is you take the 3rd, which would be an E, and you go a 4th up to an A. You go a 4th up to a D, and you go a 4th up to a G. And so now we have this chord. And that becomes a nice, someone's playing. It's a nice stack. It's a stacked 4. And you can also start it here on the A and start on the 6. Go 6, 9, 5, 1. So it's. So I'm playing A, D. And really the best way for you to think about it is the stack can play on the 5 or the 1 of the chord. So here where there's a 1 is C major 7. The G on the top would be the 5. The C would be the 1. And this trick is used, Larry Carlton uses it on Kid Charlemagne. And a lot of people always ask me about the rhythm in Kid Charlemagne. He's playing that A minor. Just by chance he crossed. And then a G6, which is just G, B, E, G. The next chord is, if you read the sheet music to it, would say like an F major 9. But really, all he's playing is this on the guitar, which is a stacked 4 on F. A, D. A is the major 3rd. D is the 6. G is the 9. C is the 5. And then the next chord's a B flat 7. And what he plays is A flat, D, G, C. So he's playing A flat, which is the dominant 7 of B flat, the major 3rd, the 6 or the 13 now because we have a 7, and the 9. So all together it's. But anyways, so that's how that's constructed and how that's thought of. This being the F and then this being the 9-13 chord without a root, because you don't need to worry about the roots when you're playing in a band. The bass is usually taking that, especially if you have a keyboard. And that's another issue when you have guitar players that don't necessarily play in full bands and they go play in a band. And I go see them and I'm like, oh my God, the sound. It's like everyone's fighting for space. But the guitar player is trying to play every chord full. And you don't need to play full chords. You can play partials because you have a bass player, you have a keyboard player. You should just be playing something. And that's basically what Larry does. He's just going. All right, just so you can see that chord again, it's A flat, D, G, C. And it's a partial missing the bass note, but it's basically a B flat 9 13. Is that clear for everybody? Are we still here? Yes, no, maybe. So also, we could see the same thing happening if we were to play a song that has two minor sevens next to each other. We automatically know what key we'd be in. So if you have a song, let me just see where I could put these two together. All right, we know that's the key of A minor or the key of C, whatever. Right, because we have the two minor sevens next to each other. Thank you, Richard. So no matter what chord it is, there's always just going to be three places for it. Except, well, if it's a dominant 7 chord, it's the 5. If you have a triad of a major chord, that's either going to be the 1 chord, the 4 chord, or the 5 chord. So if you have a D chord in a song, we know it's either going to be the 1 in the key of D, it's going to be the 4 chord in the key of A. It is going to be a 5 chord in the key of G. Other than that, the D chord does not exist. I mean, yes, we can get into altered and all kinds of crazy others. I mean, there's other keys and stuff going on, and we will down the road get into harmonic major, double harmonic major, double diminished, whole tone, but that's on the fringe. And I don't really want to get too involved in that until there's a complete understanding of your simple major scale and how it works. So if someone says there's an A minor 7 or an A minor 7 chord, it's the 6 chord in the key of C. It's the 2 chord in the key of G. And it's the 3 chord in the key of F. And you really should know that off the top of your head to know what's going to happen. Because that'll be really helpful for you to know that. If you have any type of major 7 with a sharp 11, it's the 4. So C, add 9, sharp 11. Now, this is a great chord for you to work on understanding and why I don't like people talking modes. Because here, we're in the key of G. This is the 4 chord in the key of G. I like playing into E minor to the key of G. I don't have to necessarily think of, I could think of it from here. I could think of it from E minor. And if I'm playing, melodically, I can play anywhere. But just if I have to go run up the scale or do something, to me, I'm thinking E minor. I'm thinking 1 sharp, I'm thinking E minor. Even though I know the chord is the 4 chord, someone plays this. Could you just develop playing double stops? You could develop playing anything. I mean, I don't understand that kind of a question. I mean, a lot of double stop playing that the guys like, what's the guy down in Memphis? Steve Cropper. A lot of that stuff he is toying with the chords, and he doesn't want to play the bass notes. It's almost the same thing. I think about it as moving chords and not so much as the term double stops. The word double stops to me doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't, I don't know. When I hear people say it, I'm like, what? I know what it means, but it's just something that it doesn't, because when I think of like, when you think of like I just think of them as 2 chords, as as like Diads. Yeah, you could say they're double stops but I just don't. It's a weird thing. The name doesn't hit me. It doesn't. I don't know. I would just play. It's like a moving rhythm, I would just think of it as being, I'm playing the chords. And I don't really, yeah. Because double stops, I usually think of it like in a lead playing format. And I think of it more rhythmically, just the chords, like I'm playing partials. I don't know, Steve, if that's making any sense to you, how I look at it, but it may not. But like, let's say someone's playing this, like. Simple G major 7, D major 7. I can play a B minor to an A, not to an A, to an F sharp minor. I would think of it more like that, as playing the slash chord without the bass. Because you can look at almost any chord. I saw some guy posted a thing, and he was talking about how slash chords are, help your playing. And I thought, well, I didn't watch his video, but I was like, well, a slash chord is just a way to break up the chord. Like, you could look at a G major 7 chord as G, B, D, F sharp. But if you look at it, the B, D, F sharp is just a B minor over a G bass. So it becomes in itself a slash chord. I can look at it therefore in a slash chord. And, you know, in like one of these nights by the Eagles, that's what he's doing. He's doing all the. And then the C major 7, he's playing an E minor. He's playing it here. So over that, this is the bass. To that G. Which is kind of a cool thing, but you should know those chords. So when you see stuff like the C major 7 that I have in the 1 position in this chord underneath me, that C major 7 is technically C, E, G, B. Well, E, G, B is E minor over a C bass. So you could almost look at that as a slash chord and get rid of playing the C and just play this while the bass is playing. Right? And then the D minor 7 is D, F, A, C. Well, F, A, C is an F major. So it's an F major over a D bass. E minor 7, G, B, D. It's a G chord. Can somebody get rid of that? It's a G chord under the E bass. Over the E bass. I'm sorry. I say under, over, backwards sometimes. F major 7, A, C, E. It's F, A, C, E. So we have an A minor over an F bass. G7, B, D, F. We have a B diminished over a G. When you start to see stuff like that, you'll start to see that, oh, well, if the B diminished over that, then I could play, and you can treat that 5 chord like a diminished, even though it's not. And that really is where the double diminished comes in. Because the double diminished allows you to play and explore and treat dominant 7 chords like diminished chords. Did anyone get rid of that? I can't see on my... Oh, thanks, Joe. Yeah. Thanks. So yeah, so there's that whole world of understanding chords. And, you know, that's something you guys are going to think like how nerdy I am. But when I was younger and used to get in my car, I would hear something on the radio and I'd be like, all right, well, that's a minor 7. And I would work out all that in my head. I would be like, okay, like an F major, like here's F major 9, right? I have an F, a C, an E, a G. So it's a C triad really over an F. There is no third involved, although somebody else could be playing it, whether it's the horn or somebody on the keys. But on the guitar, I'd just be playing. And let's just say I could, if I'm playing, arpeggiate the C major, or I could even arpeggiate the A minor 7 and put the A in there and be like, so if someone's playing this chord, I can play. Yeah. So I can outline the A minor 7. Because the F major 9 chord is F, A, C, E, G. Well, A, C, E, G is an A minor 7, and I just have an F in the bass. So, you know, I tend to like to avoid the root note if I'm playing, just because melodically, I just think it sounds nicer when you do. And, there's some really cool pentatonic stuff if you guys are pentatonic players. And there's nothing wrong with playing pentatonic. It's simple. It's you're taking 5 notes out of the 7. So if we looked at like a D major, right? Here's a D chord. So everybody knows the B minor pentatonic. You could play. Now also, if I wanted to play the D major 7 chord, it's a little prettier, I can still play the D major pentatonic. But I can also play F sharp minor pentatonic, which is playing from the 3rd. And we get this. Now, why is that? Because when we play this chord, this is a D major 7. We have a D, an A, a C sharp, and an F sharp. So here we have 5 notes. And I'm just going to play them in the order that I play them in the scale, which is we have the 1, we have the 5, we have the 6, we have the major 3rd, and then we have the 9 or the 2. All right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. But when I play here on the F sharp minor, I avoid the 1. I'm playing the 5, the 9, the major 3rd, the major 7, and the 6. So when you go, so it's a nice way to look at a pentatonic major when there's a major 7 that you can play. You start on the minor of the 3rd. So the 3rd of D is an F sharp. So we play F sharp minor. Now technically, if we looked at my scale that we have in front, because we've been talking in the key of C, if we look at C major 7, I can play A minor 7, A minor pentatonic. We can go to the 6, right? So if I go, but I could also go to the 3, which is that E minor 7. But technically, I can also play the D minor 7. It usually doesn't sound as good as playing the 6 and the 3 against the 1 major 7. But technically, it fits in the scale. It's just not selecting the best notes. The best notes are in that 3. So, if I play G, major 7, what's the 3rd to G? What's the major 3rd? Anybody? Bueller? Bueller. Major 3rd to a G major 7 chord. Now, it's not jazzy because what happens is it's every note that just doesn't sound. You've got the F against it, which the F is a terrible note to play. The 4 or the 11 is an absolute horror show note to play against a major 7. In fact, that's something down the road, Hetriani, but I'll show you how most jazz guys approach the major 7 chord as if it's automatically the 4 chord of whatever scale they're playing. So in jazz, the jazz guys play a C major 7 chord, they're going to play in the key of G. They're going to play. They don't want to hear against this. They don't want to hear this note. They want to hear this note. So they play major 7s with a raised 4, even if it's the 1 chord. It's just a strange thing. But the 2 is just never a place. The C is not the 3rd to the key of G. And the chord, the 3rd is the B. And so when you play a G major 7, you could play a B minor pentatonic. So the major 3rd, the 3rd pentatonic, the B minor pentatonic works really nice if you're playing. But you could also play your standard E minor pentatonic, but you can bounce between both. But the B minor pentatonic avoids the 1. And like I said, I like avoiding the 1 and I like avoiding the 4. So here, if you were playing this, you would play this like you were playing in the key of D, which would be with a C sharp as well. So the scale would be. Because the jazz guys don't want to hear that 4 or 11 against the major 7. Just not a pretty sound for them. But if you look at, like, I go over looking at some of my older lessons, and like I looked up the other day, One of a Kind Love Affair, because somebody had commented, and it's one of those one of a kind love affair is when you're right, and it goes right to that D11 before the G, so it always kind of ends. That's funny, Johnny. No, it's not as tough. The jazz guys, and I say jazz guys, I'm talking like all levels. And I'm not a jazz guy by any stretch, but I do understand what they're doing. You know what it's like? It's your sensibility. It's how you communicate. Some guys are metal guys. And even though a metal guy may like jazz, so he might incorporate some of it in his playing. He might like ambient music, and he incorporates that in his vocabulary. So, but it's really what you are, like I've seen young kids. There's a kid named Justin Lee Schultz who plays piano, guitar, bass. And this kid's got an unbelievable jazz vocabulary. That to me, it's like he's born with it. You are born with understanding that language. For me, it's one of those things where I had to kind of get into understanding it, hearing a lot of it. And I wish I could speak it better than I do, but it really wasn't my thing as much as just popular music was. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's also why jazz guys, when I say like G11, cringe. They cringe because they were like, you're never going to have an 11 with a 3. That's a 9 sus4. And technically they're right. But I'm playing the 7, 9, 11, all right in order. So to me, I call it an 11, and a lot of guys that I did sessions with always refer to that chord as an 11. But the jazz guys are right. It's a 9 sus4 because there's no 3. Because the 3 would make that chord hideous. And it would. There's no getting around it. Yeah, you wouldn't hear those two tones together. But yeah, you can look at any songs, and you should really spend some time just looking at chord books and trying to figure out what key the songs are in, just from looking at the chord progressions. Like in this, you've got like there's a song. What's that song? Oh, a One of a Kind Love Affair starts off like. It's this F to a C over G to a G. And really, it's in the key of G. It's in the key of C because we have the F. It's a 4 chord to the 1, 5. But you should be able to look at chord progressions and say, oh, okay, I know what key that is. Or like when I'm playing songs and I hear, when I teach songs, I'll go listen to it. Sometimes I'm sitting there like, what the hell am I hearing here? There's and I'll go and I'll break apart that chord because, I'll look it up and see, what is someone saying that is? And I'm like, that is not what that is. And I'll hear stuff like that and break it down. And then I have to give it a name. I did for, what is that song by? There's a song by Steely Dan. I never seen you looking so bad, my funky. That second chord, I had to break it apart note for note to hear it because it wasn't what people were saying it was. And it happens quite a bit in songs, A lot of people talk about the moo chord with Steely Dan, and maybe they're playing it on the piano, but when I see guys play it in certain songs, I'm like, that's not the chord that they're playing on the record. Maybe they got you bamboozled, but they're not playing the mu chord because there's no 3. They're playing, like when you hear like someone said in one of the song books or online, someone's head, and they say this was the mu chord, and this is not a mu chord. This is a stack with a G in the bass. The mu chord would have a 3 in it, and I don't really want to get too much into that, but I tend to, in my lessons, try to be correct as far as what I'm hearing. I think in all my lessons that I've ever posted, maybe 2 guys were right about correcting me about something. One guy said it was a dominant 7 chord, and I knew it was, but there was just no way I was playing it in the position I was playing it. But when I did as again the second time, I played it with the dominant chord because I could. And then there was one song, I think it was in a Ricky Lee Jones song. Does higher volume muddy some chords? Well, it just depends on what you're playing. Obviously, a higher volume of an amplifier will, but you should be able to play every chord clear. And, there's all kinds of really nice tricks. Like, this is like a C sharp minor 7, right? We have C sharp, G sharp, B, E, G sharp. But I can also voice this where I'm just playing C sharp, G sharp, C sharp, and then have the B, E, have the open strings. It's also a C sharp minor 7. So there's different voicings, the way that you can make the guitar sound, You could also play it like, play it with the, what is this? On top. But there's like so many different voicings. So I try to capture the voicing while doing it. And I think it's good that you know the voicing. And also I think it's good to know that if you're playing a C sharp minor 7, I can outline an E major 7 chord, and now I'm outlining technically a C sharp minor, a C sharp minor 9 chord. Nah, you know, when I go see live bands, I'm not saying it. But when I did play in a band with Emily, we had this keyboard player, and I always felt bad because I was always telling him what voicing I wanted him to play. And he would play a chord, and I'm like, ooh, you know what? You got to put, and I would tell him exactly how I want his right hand. One of the chords was a C major 7. I wanted the right hand to go B, E, G, because the next chord I wanted to go A, C sharp, E over the B bass in the left hand. And it's important to have a sound. And that sound would be like that. That was the sound I wanted on the keyboard, that to this. This being a B11 and this being a C major 7. But I needed that voicing. And it's funny because I watched recently, and this is just like a week ago, that somebody was talking about Donald Fagen working with all these keyboard players that are so much better than he is. And Donald would be like, nope, you got to use this voicing. And it's just what works. And you can, when you hear it, I'm super anal about voicing. So like when I want to hear a certain voicing, I want to hear it. Even in my metal band, there's a lot of things that I would do to get the voicing the way I needed it to sound, whether I would be in a different tuning. But if I heard something a certain way, it's because that's the way I wanted it. And, you know, so when you see me teaching songs and I'm like, recently, what was the song I taught Monday this week? Yes. Oh, it was yesterday, Sweet Love, right? So it's all these common tones. However, on the record, the keyboard is really playing in the right hand the whole time on that chord, but there's not enough fingers on the guitar to play it. And I gotta have continuity in the sound. So I kept it there. So that type of stuff I do now. I do show that you could, if you wanted to, you could play it like. Which is more correct, but it loses that continuity of being played the whole time with that same sound, because the ear picks up on stuff like that when you hear. A B11 is an A played over a B. A triad, B in the bass. A G11 is an F with a G. Is an F right played by a G chord? A B11 is an A chord with a B in the bass. Oh, that was the chord in that song. Now, I never seen you looking so bad. Tell me that you should find mine has coming down. But yeah, that was that chord. That. And it took me a while to figure out what the hell was going on because, like I said, I looked at the chords first and I was like, that is not what it sounds like. So what you guys should do is really just go over the C major scale and get it down because we're going to be going over all 12 scales eventually. And yeah, well, 15, right? I guess we're going to go over 15 keys, even though technically 3 of them are the same because G flat and F sharp are the same key, but you really should know them as both. Yeah. But you'd have to know them. So we'll go over, we'll start to figure out how to move around the board. But for now, we have the key of C, right? So if we know the key of G is the first with 1 sharp, you could plug and play them right into all these numbers here. You could just go G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, right? And so then the chords would be G major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, C major 7, D7, E minor 7, and F sharp minor 7 flat 5. It really is that easy. It's all plug and play. Once you know the scale, all 7 chords are going to work out the same. And so that would be, and you would see that C major now is also in the 4 position on that G. And but you would have G major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, C major 7, D major D7, E minor 7, and then F sharp minor 7 flat 5. What song has that? Oh, that's right. It's like I want to tell you, baby, the change is out. Yeah. All right. Well, let me know if you have any questions because that's all I really wanted to talk about tonight. I kind of went over everything that I needed to get out. And if there's any questions, hopefully I can answer them for you. We went over the 5 chord, so everyone understands the 5 chord is the chord that wants to resolve. And you'll see that a lot in chords. In fact, if we take a look at like a song like in the key of G, right? We have a G, C. So there's a song by Tim McGraw, right? And it's then it's now here's the chorus, and everyone knows it. I went skydiving, I went to a C, Rocky Mountain climbing, E minor to D, to a C add 9, and I love deeper at night. Now Now here he's going to go to a B7. Spoke sweeter and what does B7 do? It's the 5 chord to E minor. It wants to resolve. Gave forgiveness, I've been denying. And I hope that someday you get to D. And here's the 5 of the true song, to live like you were. And that's why it ends the chorus. The 5 wants to resolve to its own 1. Yes. So in songs, you will see secondary dominant chords. You'll see people put dominant chords in places where they shouldn't be, because they're guiding you through the song to take you where they want to take you. Yeah. And usually a secondary dominant will take you to the dominant, but not always. But yes, you have these dominants. You know, like in Honky Tonk Woman, the song's in G, so the dominant chord would be the D, but I met a gypsy power queen in Memphis. Yes, Cheech. Had to take me A7. Which is with D. Yeah, the Nashville players are nuts. They're great. And they do everything in numbers. And eventually on this show, I might delve into the Nashville number charts. It's unless you're really using them, you don't need them. You can do your own kind of number chart. People think it's obvious, but it's really not, because in general, if we look at the chords on the bottom of the page here, and I said we're going to play 1, 6, 4, 5, 4 chords deep, everyone can see we're going to play a C major 7 to an A minor 7 to an F major 7 to a G7. That would be a 1, 6, 4, 5. In Nashville, you would have to notate that the 6 is minor. Everything else would just, the minor 7, you would just give the triangle. The 7, you would just put the 7. But the minor, you would have to notate that 6 was minor. Because in Nashville numbering, everything's assumed to be a major chord. Whereas when you just talk about progressions, like if I'm talking in a blues context and I say it's a 3, 6, 2, 5, 1 ending, we know that the 3 is minor, the 6 is minor. I mean, unless someone says the 3, 6, but the 6 is major. Sometimes the 6 can be major, but 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. And in that song, the A is what the 5 falls to. Yeah, I mean, they're great players. Great players. I mean, first thing that comes is technique. I mean, you got to be able to play. And I'm just trying to get you to here to at least just understand how far you can take it. I mean, it seems like Hetriani has a pretty good grasp of the music theory stuff. Maybe not all the jazz concepts, but like that's just a matter of putting the time in if you know them. But you should understand how music works. The circle of fifths, how things and how things work. Because like if I'm playing lead and someone asks me to come in and play on a session, and someone's playing, like that chord, the C major 9. I can know how to play around that and understand that I'm really looking at a G chord there. That's how I would look at that. I would look at that as a G chord over a C. And you hear like a lot of cool things like what's that song by Jackson Browne? I want to build myself a house, and he's playing that G and in the shade of the freeway, And then the C comes in and you still hear. That's some beautiful shit, you know? And I don't know if the song was written that way, but whoever was playing the guitar, which is probably David Lindley, or maybe the person on the piano is hearing that. And it's like I said, it's those common tones of keeping things more static, of like. So when you have that, now what is this? So it'd be like. I wanna build myself or rent myself a house, the shade of the fruit. You know what I mean? So there's that beautiful keeping a pattern playing, gives the G a G chord, makes the C a C major 9, but it's pretty stuff. And that's what's going on in that song, but someone's playing on the piano up here. Which is nice, In the shade of a flame. Yeah, so Triana, you would have understood clearly when I'm talking about the harmonic minor, using the G sharp in the harmonic minor scale, is really, and again, the reason why they call that classical, neoclassical, is because it gives the appearance, and by it is of no stretch anything close to classical, but it gives that appearance of that sound, that. That whole type of thing. What is that chord? But in the jazz guys would definitely look at the diminished scale from a different perspective. They would look at it from an 8-note scale, and like a lot of. All that diminished stuff, that's just 4 notes taken out of the harmonic minor scale. But the jazz guys are looking at, like I said, is the classical the most complex guitar playing? I don't think so. I mean, it depends on what you're calling complex. Theory-wise, no, I don't think so. I mean, most of the classical stuff is read, so you're just reading it. And it's difficult. I mean, it's beautiful music. But is it the most difficult? No. I would say jazz is the most complex. I would say that too, Triani. It's, yeah. I mean, you can get away with playing it and being okay. But the jazz guys, I mean, there's some great players. I mean, Chick Corea was a classically trained pianist who went from classical music to playing jazz. I just think the jazz stuff, it's it's another level of understanding, and it's really good. And I don't think you don't have to have it like, there's the old saying, you can play jazz and play for 3 people. What's it, 3, or play 3 chords and, play 1,000,000 chords for 3 people, or play 3 chords for 1,000,000 people, right? Isn't that what they say about jazz versus rock? And there's some truth to it. Obviously, Steely Dan, which to me, I don't really think of them as a jazz band. I don't think of it as jazz. I mean, you can call it jazz rock, but is it really? There's a couple of jazzy pieces, but really it's rock. It's rock that has maybe borrowed some jazz harmony. And that's nice. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love that, what they do. But I don't think that a jazz guy would call it jazz. When they go play live, some of the players that play with them now like to stretch and play more jazz than what those songs were. I wish they wouldn't, but they do. There was a great jazz band version of Steely Dan called the Hoops McCann Band, and the album's called The Hoops McCann Band Plays the Music of Steely Dan. And it's like jazz versions of Steely Dan songs. But for the most part, I think Steely Dan, it's a rock band, and there was some jazz concepts being played, and they had some beautiful chords, but I don't know if I would. Yeah, I don't know that I would consider it jazz, but it's great stuff. Am I a play it like the album live guy? I am. Because the reason is because when I go see a band play, I want to hear them play the song. I'd love to see them play the solo. If someone played it like if I'm going to go see Night Ranger and they're playing Sister Christian, I want to hear that guy play that solo. If I'm going to go see Steely Dan and they're going to do Kid Charlemagne, I want to hear that solo. Oh yeah, they sure did. But modern jazz, so did Billy Joel. Billy Joel had Freddie Hubbard playing on Zanzibar. He had I'm gonna blank. Phil Woods playing on Just the Way You Are. So I mean, a lot of those guys hired jazz guys, but that doesn't make it jazz music. Some of the best jazz guys play on country stuff too, but it doesn't make it jazz. It's just. But yeah, there were some serious jazz players, of course. I think Freddie Hubbard's trumpet solo on Zanzibar is as jazzy as who played the sax on Gaucho? The one they got. And they got busted for that song too, because that song was a rip of another song. Yeah, they can get away with it, but not with me. I wouldn't be happy. When I've seen Iron Maiden a bunch of times, I want to hear them play the song. Dave Murray plays the solos. He plays on the records. Adrian Smith plays pretty close. That's what I want to hear. Janet Kurz is jumping around like an imbecile. I have no idea what he's doing, but I like him. I mean, it's great stuff. But like when I saw Steely Dan, and I'll tell you, I've seen them a bunch of times. When Drew Zing was in the band, I enjoyed Drew Zing's playing, and he played nothing like the solos. The other guy, John Harrington or whatever, I didn't love. Keith Jarrett, that was it. Thank you. Yeah, loving something, loving long, whatever the name of that song was. I mean, it's not that he just sued him. It was a clear rip. I love that Keith Jarrett song. Loving long, a long. It's the same. They also could have easily been sued by the beginning of "Song for My Father" by Horace Silver was. That's how "Song for My Father" starts, by Horace Silver. And I think, Steely Dan was just tipping a hat to him. Oh, Tom Scott played. Yeah, he's good. I like Tom Scott. Yeah. I love that. Oh, it's just some real. Long as you know you're living yours. Thank you very much. That is the title of the song. Folks, if you don't know that song, Long as You Know You're Living Yours by Keith Jarrett, just look it up on YouTube and you'll see it. It's basically It's gaucho. Oh, nice snowball. Yeah, I did too. I like Drew's. There was something about Drew Zing's playing that I thought was snappier and it felt nice. It felt, yeah, there was something that I dug about it. Whereas the Harrington stuff, it's kind of like he's tipping his hat a little to it, but then playing over it. And I just rather hear those solos. Look, even Larry Carlton says he goes and they want him to play that solo. So he had to learn that solo note for note. Of course, they want to hear it. That's what they want to. It's part of this. Here's my thought. To me, a solo is part of the song. Therefore, play it like the fucking record because I came to hear you guys play your song. That would be like if in a Journey song, um, they changed the piano parts around. Well, it was a key part to the song, but we felt like we could stretch on it. Oh, they did pay Horace Silver? That's good. You know what I mean? So like at the end of like Stone in Love, you want to hear that lead solo. You want to hear the lead solo at the end of Who's Crying Now? You want to hear those things. I want to hear those things. To me, that's part of the song. If I'm, like I said, if I was going to go see Night Ranger and they're going to play Sister Christian, I want to hear Brad Gillis play that solo and watch him play it that he played on that record. You know, I don't want to hear. Now, to be fair, there was a couple of times I went and saw bands and they actually were doing different things. So, and I'll tell you the good and bad of it. I saw Gino Vanelli in the mid-90s in Los Angeles, and he was doing jazz versions of his songs. So in those songs, I don't mind so much because there's so much stretching going on, even in the voicings of the chords. I'm just enjoying watching him playing with a great band and playing jazz versions of his own songs. But at no point was I like, that's not like the record, because nothing was like the record. And I knew that's what it was going to be. Elvis Costello, I saw with a band called the Rude Five, and it was absolutely terrible. I didn't recognize any songs. I ended up walking out. 6 months later, he came around again and was with the Attractions, and I went. And I told a buddy of mine, if he doesn't open up with No Action, I'll walk out. And he opened up with No Action. So I actually was stuck. But it was a great show. But I agree, Hetriani, don't mess with the solo. It's part of the song. If it's not part of the song and it's a throwaway, then what the, like, is rock jazz? Like, is everyone getting a solo? No, to me, they're part of a song, especially in like a lot of songs. I remember as a kid, I would meet like, I was just starting guitar, so what was I, 13? And I remember people would be like, "Oh, you gotta meet my friend's brother. He can play the Aqualung solo note for note, the whole thing." I'm like, "Let's go. We're going over his house." So we did, and the kid played it solo note for note. That's what you wanted to see. So if I go see Jethro Tull, you're gonna tell me this kid that I watched play a 335 in his garage can play me the solo note for note, but the shitbag that played it on the album wants to stretch that night? Fuck you. I paid the money. Let me see the damn solo. That's all I'm saying. Oh, God. Johnny. Actually, is that Johnny Kramer or is that his brother John? Yeah, you want, to me, it's all the stuff. I want to hear the solo the same. If somebody does do a different solo for whatever reason, maybe if it's okay, I don't know, but I want to hear the damn solo. I want to hear the record. That's what I wanted to hear. I'm not going there to watch fucking Iron Maiden stretch. Oh, this is where Adrian Smith is going to take a 10-minute solo in Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. And yeah, no, he isn't. Play the fucking record. Yeah, Martin Barr. Oh, exactly. A buddy of mine called me up one day and says, "Do you want to go see Jethro Tull? I have an extra ticket." I'm like, "Absolutely, let's go." What do I love like a bunch of their songs. I didn't know it was called An Evening with Jethro Tull. It was a very bizarre show, but it was like every B track they ever played. It was basically a show of like rare tracks. And me and my buddy, who were casual fans at most, I think I had the best of at one point. I looked over at him. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm even watching here. At the end, they played 3 songs we knew for the encore. The encore was 3 songs. That was the whole show for us. Yeah. Not only do you not want to see someone else playing it, but if Roger Waters is going to do Comfortably Numb, have the guy learn the fucking solo. People want to hear the solo. The solo's iconic. We don't want to hear Snowy White's version of that solo. We want to hear Snowy White playing David Gilmour's solo. Oh, totally Snowball. That's exactly what it was. He was sitting in like a cafe table. There was a waitress bringing him tea, and he was talking about every song. And, you know, thank God I was with a buddy of mine that had a good sense of humor, because we were laughing the whole time going, what the hell did we get ourselves into? We were like and you know, and every fan was like, oh my God, this is a song that was never released. And we're like, really? I think I know why. All I want fucking teacher and well, the teacher told me. And the 43-minute version of Thick as a Brick. Yeah, brother to brother solo. I mean, you know what's nuts is for a while, I was friendly with Carlos Rios. I knew Carlos in Venice. In fact, I actually got him a gig playing with this girl singer for a while. And he's a great guy. I should have sat with him and asked him to show me the solo. I didn't. In fact, I think Carlos had played with Fleetwood Mac for a while. He was touring with Fleetwood Mac. Exactly, Joe. Oh, it's worse than that. Tonight's Girlfriend, let me tell you, is far superior. But yeah, so, you know, and the other thing is, so like a lot of times I'm playing an AM station. You've seen me play with Emily. You've seen me play with Jim. I'm playing Thursday night this week at a cigar bar, but I'm supposed to play Saturday night, but it's supposed to be a big storm, so I'm not banking on it, but I do have to make a flyer just in case. But a lot of times I'll be playing these songs and I forget how they effing go. You think I'm memorizing 300 songs? You're out of your minds. I have a gist of how things go, and the rest I can figure out the chords just by the progression. So like when I'm playing like On and On by Stephen Bishop, and it's, I know it's going to go to a 2-5-1. You know what? The 2 on into to a 5 1 6 dominant 7 2 5 1, and that's how I hear it in my head. And I hear, as crazy as it sounds, the numbers. I'm not thinking about the chords. I'm just thinking of the numbers. Because sometimes I'll go play, and God love her, but Emily will sit there and say, can you move it back up or move it down? And sometimes it's work. Sometimes it's not. But the times it's work, those numbers are in my head, and I'm like, how the hell am I playing the 6, 7? Oh, okay. Do I study the numbers in songs? No, I mean, I just know what the numbers are. So like in front of you, you could see on my screen, if I'm playing On and I'm saying 1, that's the C or C major 7, but here it's just a C. The 2 is D minor 7. The 5 is a G7, but I'm playing it as a G11 to a 1. And then the 6 is an A minor 7, but in the song, it's not minor, it's major, so it's an A dominant 7, 6 dominant 7. And then 2, D minor 7, 5, and back to the 1. And so that's, I hear chords move around like that, when you hear like thunder only happens when it's rain. I'm playing just a 4 to a 5. Players only love you when they're playing. I said women. So I'm thinking of those numbers and those chord changes in my head. And that's like a lot of times how I'm putting chords together in songs. Like we used to play what is it? I'm not talking about moving in, and I don't want to change your life, but there's a warm wind blowing the stars around, and I really, what is that in chord? See, because I play this, really love to see you tonight. So now the reason why I don't know what that chord is, because lately I've been playing it here. And so I have to think of all those numbers again, like I'm not talking about moving in, and I don't want to change your life, but there's a warm wind blowing the stars around, and I really love to see you tonight. No. Cheech, these are excellent questions. No. But if I'm in the key of C, like on and on is, it's in the key of C. If that was the key of D, the 1 would be a D major 7, the 2 would be an E minor 7, the 3 would be an F sharp minor 7, the 4 would be a G major 7, the 5 would be an A 7, the 6 would be a B minor 7, and the 7 would be a C sharp minor 7 flat 5. So it depends on what key you're in. Right now, I'm only showing you the key of C. Eventually, you have to learn these for all 15 keys. So if I know, like if I'm playing, what is she gives me right, what's that? Need Her Love by ELO, right? So it's C, 1 to a 2 to a 1 over 3, which is a C over E, to a 4, F, 6, 3, 2, 1 over 3, 6, she go, 3. Then what he does is he plays a 5 minor 7. That's a good one. He plays a C to a C9, making the F the resolution. F minor. I need 3. Now he's in the key, actually changes keys here. Oh no, he's in the same. 6, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. So it's 3, 6, 2, 5. And that's the chorus to Need Her Love. And if you watch my lesson, you'll see that it's just playing the C majors, the key of C major, and there's the 7 chords. So after a while, you can kind of get used to playing this, going 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. I need her. 777. What's that? It doesn't seem so daunting. Yeah, it's a lot easier than people are thinking about it when you break down music into what it is, which is there's 7 chords. It doesn't matter what key it's in, there's 7 chords. What's a good quality yet affordable acoustic? Any of the Yamaha FG series is fine. They make a pretty good one. I mean, that's like $200, and it's a good guitar. Yeah, I think the Yamaha is probably the best for the best bang for the buck in that respect of. You know, you have songs like Hey Gary. When it all goes crazy in the time. Okay, we can see immediately. We have an F chord, and we have an F with a 9 and a sharp 11. Right? Well, that's automatically will tell you that's in the key of C. And then the chorus is, just remember I love you, and it'll be alright. Just remember I love you more than I can say. Baby on your finger. You know, so you can see that just from that first chord. Tells you right away. Now the second chord is a G. So when you see F to G, it's like I told you, 4 and 5, F to G, the 2 major chords that are next to each other are going to let you know what the 1 is. If F and G are your 4 and 5, sure, absolutely. Yeah, that's in fact, I'll do that next week because it really, key changes look for common tone chords, and you know sometimes they want you to lift up, or sometimes it's for all different reasons. But the point I'm saying is here we see that it works. We're in the key of C. When it all comes down, then the da-da-da, then E minor 7. Just remember I love you, and it'll be right. And you have, so you can really see a lot of what's going on just from these 7 chords. Now, if you notice, the 7 chord it doesn't get used that often. In fact, most of the time, because it also is, it's treated like a 5 chord, like a dominant chord, that a lot of times they sub out the 5 chords. So a lot of times if you want to see like a walk down, you'll see it go C to G over B instead of the B minor 7 flat 5, which would be this. You would hear this. The first chord in a song is usually not the key of the song, Cheech. It depends. If you have a song like Dreams, like I mentioned earlier, it's F to G. Well, anytime you have 2 major chords next to each other, that's the 4 chord and the 5 chord to a song. Because in the key, you can look in the bottom here, 1 is by itself, 4 and 5 are next to each other. Those are the 3 major chords in a key, 1, 4, and 5. So in a song, if there's 2 chords next to each other that are majors, that's your 4 and 5. Now, not. You guys are looking at it like a formula. There is no formula. You just never know. But you can tell by if there's two chords next to each other, like a 4 and 5. That'll tell you. Like in when it all comes down the F to a G, tells me I'm in the key of C. I know right away I'm in the key. I knew I'm in the key of C here because I'm playing an F sharp 9, sharp 11, which tells me I'm on the 4 chord. But just to be certain, if you have a song that has 2 minor 7s a whole step apart, you know they're the 2 and the 3 in the song. So isn't a root with a sus2? No, I don't know what you're talking about. A sus2 just says that you're taking the 3 out and moving it to a 2. So let me just state this again, because this is something I'm trying to drill into you guys. If the 4 and 5 are next to each other, if 2 major chords are next to each other in a song, a whole step apart, they are the 4 and 5. If there are 2 minor chords a whole step apart, they're the 2 and 3. So if you know a song that has 2 minors next to each other, don't just think of that as the 2 and 3. And so, for instance, in the song "She's Gone," not "She's Gone," Sarah Smile, you've got. So G and A minor are next to each other. There's your 2. There's your 3. This is your 6. The song is in D minor. All right. So you take a song like Hot Blooded, right? It's G to an F. There's your 5 and 4. C is your 1. Even though you're centered on the G, it does not matter. The C is your key. And like I was showing you earlier with that Sabbath tune. Yeah, I don't know if I read a lot of books, but I worked doing music and I forced myself to learn this when I was real young. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of times people say to me, how do they come up with chords and and a lot of times it's because there's common ties to chords. So like in the song, I Just Want to Stop by Gino Vanelli, right? And he's like, oh, time I took so long to get it. My mind won't let. All right. Now he's going to go, I just. So it's like, what are we doing exactly? What are we doing here? We're playing a B11, A, C sharp, E. Then we're playing with the B flat, almost the same chord, and then to the A in the bass. So it's this. So you can hear all these common tones, and that's how they come up with the chords. So it's not like this chord here. What is this chord called? That's a B flat 11. This would be B flat 7 flat, B flat minor 7 flat 5. Right? But I mean, I'm coming up with the name of the chord after sonically, and I'm sure they did too. They played it. They were probably like, I just. Well, then you got to go back and name the chord, but it's all common tones together. I tell you what I feel about you, babe. I just while you develop an ear and you start to hear it. That's all. I don't know if there's anyone that's a savant, and people, you can work at it, and it's all obtainable. There's all kinds of things. I mean, there's things to learn. There's picking techniques. There's execution of when you're playing the instrument, but then there's also this, and this is so much more not execution, but just like more mental stuff. And when I used to drive in my car, I would always just be thinking about this stuff as a youngster. I'd be like, all right, what's a minor 9 chord? What am I hearing in it? That type of thing. And thank you, Cedric. Once you start playing 7th chords, you want to play triad chords anymore? Well, it just depends. Yeah, I mean, I like the 7s, but for the most part, sometimes it's you don't. There's also some really, absolutely. You want to learn to play all the chords in all the ways you can. But like here, you could have there's all kinds of things like a D. Here's a D chord, right? Now, if I take the A and raise it, so we got, and I raise it again, and then I raise it again. Those types of exercises are good for you to know and what you're doing. The D augmented, and then it becomes a B minor over D to a D7. This you could call a D6 also. Exactly. Hold me, come on and hold me. Why don't we steal away? Why don't we steal away into the night? I know it ain't right. Yeah, I think it's in a different key though. I think it's in A. Hold me, come on and hold me, then show me just what you've came here for. Why don't we steal away? Why don't we steal away into the night? I know it ain't right. Find you and show me. Yeah, you want to know that type of thing. Like if I play and there's a song I teach called Short and Sweet by David Gilmour. And so you got a D chord. You should know the D is here and here. Because then there's also the G, the A, the B minor. And so you got those are nice things to know, all those inversions. yeah, you should know where everything is. You know, that's just there's some crazy stuff too, because you know, like I said, I touched a little bit on stacked fours. You know, and you could play like a whole thing like giant steps. You know, using stacked fours, it's a lot of fun, you know, knowing the G major 7, the 13 chord, the stacked 4. So if someone's playing like a blues for me, I could play stacks, you know. Oh, Gilmore's awesome. I love Gilmore. Hey, Elroy, what's happening? So yeah, so there's a lot of things for you to try to work on here. And for next week, we're definitely going to touch a little bit more about some 5 action and then how to change keys and how keys work, because when you change keys, you can use the 5. A lot of times you'll see the 5 chord, and I'll just show you this real quickly. A lot of times the 5 chord will be used for a modulation. There's a song, and I'm sure you guys know the song. I think it's from 1980, but it's by the Manhattans, and it's like, idea, Chiefs. I think I got it like for $5 when it came out, and that's like what cost was. Right, so at the end when it goes, honey, I come to your own. Honey, I come to your own. To your and he comes back down, so it's in the same key. At the last time he does it, he goes to your honey, and then they're up a half step because he brought the 5 up very sneakily. He brought it up a half step the first time and brings it back down because he goes. So it doesn't move and nothing moves. The second time he doesn't bring it down. He goes. Now we're a half step higher. Honey, I'm a shining star. Don't you go away. And that's what happens in the song. So they sneak the modulation on you by playing it on the 5. And that happens a lot in pop music. And when I say pop music, I mean pop music I grew up with, like Walking in Rhythm does the same thing. It moves it up on the 5. There's a song by Tavares called Who Done It that walks up on the 5. The 5 is used a lot to manipulate where you are in a song. In fact, in the song She's Gone, right? You've got She's Gone. Oh, I pay the devil to replace her. She's gone. She's gone. Oh, what went wrong? They play the B11, which is the 5. Yeah, bring it up a half step. Bring it up again. She's gone. Oh, yeah, exactly. They sure do have Triani. Did people in LA want you to teach songs or theory? Well, I had students in LA. I was doing session work and I had students. And the students that I had, I would say more wanted to learn how to play songs and the chords and the voicings, not so much into theory so much. Theory stuff is like, it's funny, people just don't talk about it. Like I would go to a session, someone would say, all right, the song's in the key of C, we're going to center on G, here's the chart, good luck. And that was it. And then you play it. And you just ask, what do you want? And then they tell you, and sometimes you know what they want, sometimes it takes a couple of takes. But for the most part, it's really more simple, at least I think. It's funny, it's what I took for granted because I thought of it as really simple and didn't realize a lot of people don't know, some of that stuff. Thanks, John. Who done it? Exactly. Hugh, I know I have to play it for Hugh real quick because Hugh knows the song. Although, wait, how does it go? Is it first? I think it might be first fret capo. I can't even remember how it goes, but let's try it. Who done it? Who took my baby? Who done it? Everyone in the room looks shady. Who done it? Who took that girl from me? China Chan, if you can. Have you found my baby? I've been framed by what's his name? And he's getting away. Such a great song, Hugh. Hugh, the funny thing is that band was from, they were from Massachusetts. They were like a family band. But, so yeah. And so the whole point of the capo is also the same thing. It's all about voicings. If I'm playing a song and the song goes C to F, right? So we have this. And let's just say it's, say I'm playing this. I saw her today at the reception. A glass of wine in her hand. It sounds okay. But if I move it up to the 5th fret capo and play it like I'm playing in G, I say that all the time, Cheech. I totally would. But so. I saw her today at the reception. So you can see right away, the sound is much nicer. It's much nicer using that voicing and closer to the record. It's not really how the record was played. The record was done in open E on the 8th fret, but live he gets away playing it on the 5th fret because they're not playing an open E anymore. But that's how like a lot, and the same thing goes for, when you're playing with piano players. they always play in B flat or E flat. So you get used to playing here. And so you get songs like here, I'm going to play a G. And I think it's going to be a long, long time. The touchdown brings me back into I'm not the man that you can. And so I'm just playing this to B flat to E flat. But I'm really just playing G to C, and I'm capoed. But that's how it's played on the record, because most guitars can't play flat keys. It doesn't sound good. And so, you also hear like, tonight I'm gonna pray. I'm doing it every Tuesday, Cheech. Every Tuesday at 10. I feel like that response is like somebody who watches like an episode of the Dukes of Hazzard and goes, they should have a show like this. And you're watching it. This is the show. Oh, yeah. And then all I have to say there is, just a good old boy. Never mean it no more. I think it's the wrong key. Is it D? Just a good old boy. That's it. Never mean it no more. No. Teach you more. Flattening the hills. Flattening the curves. Making the way, the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the law will allow. I'm a good old boy. My mama loves me. But you don't understand why they just show my hands and not my face on TV. Oh, exactly. Oh, it's a beautiful. What was it? A 69 Charger or a 68 Charger? I'm a good old boy. My mama loves me. But you don't understand why they just show my hands and not my face on TV. Killer shit. I love Waylon Jennings. I read somewhere that when the show was in its heyday, they got 60,000 fan letters a week, 35,000 of them to the car. Also on the show, the Dukes of Hazzard, they did a great cover version of a song by the Starland vocal band called From Boulder to Birmingham, which I love. And Emmylou Harris had a hit with it too. What's funny? Daisy Duke, she wore those shorts. Like those were her personal shorts, and they caused all kinds of problems. So anyways, if you look at those numbers on the bottom again, no matter what key we plug in, those numbers will be the same. That's why I can sit there if I take like G to C is the same as C to F. So if I move it to the 5th fret, now this is a C and this is an F. This is a G. Oh, there's a company in the States that makes those, Hugh. I think it's too high. So yeah, and that's my show for tonight. Anyways, I hope you guys understand some of this. Even if you understand some of it, I don't know if there's any David Bowie fans out there, but if you look at these chords, you know, the one you got like what's that song? C. Still don't know what I was. E minor 3. Waiting for in 4 to the 5 to the 4. C 1 3 4 5, and then it goes into the 4s, the 4 note chords. And these 1 2 3 flat 3, they do the little chromatic walk down to the 2 5 1 2 3 flat 3 2 5 4 1 5 over 4 3 5 over 7 6 5 4 2 major. Yeah, but that's basically, you can follow it, you know, that and these children that you spit on, now, there's something that I see most charts show incorrectly, but it goes A minor to G, 6 to 5, B flat, F to F. Then it goes E minor 7, D minor 7, a D minor 7 over G, otherwise known as a G11, to C. That sit and watch the and down the planets, even though the God made, they say the taste was not too sweet, and anyways, that's how that is played. There's nothing difficult. One word answer. Do you like Pinball Wizard at Gary Hubbs? God, if I remember it. The intro is the only thing good in that song. The rest of the song is less than stellar. I played Sweet Love. I'm old enough to remember when you said changes. That's funny. Them changes. Sweet love. Billy Breeze, did you play it today? Did you learn it? Take us out with that black. In the misty morning. How about I'm waiting in the Dio was the greatest. Wasn't he awesome? He was great. How about I leave you with this? Yeah, Hallowed Be the Name's a great one. Great one. Great band. All right, everyone. I want to thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Next week, we'll get right back into it with some fresh stuff, some key change stuff, some new keys. We're going to go over, start introducing some other keys and some other concepts as well. And I want to thank everyone for hanging out with me tonight. I want to thank my illustrious production team. Thanks, guys. You guys do great work over there. Meanwhile, I'm talking to a bottle of Tums. All right. Thank you, Joe, for hanging out, man. John Taylor, thank you. Richard, the Falcro, Hugh Caldwell, thank you. Everyone. Hetriani, Gary Hubbs, Billy Breeze. Appreciate your support, guys. And thanks. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it. And I will see you on the flism, whatever the hell that means. All right, guys, have a great night, and I'll see you guys soon.